And when you're young, it's actually the perfect time to take risks. You can either just quit and stop because it's too hard for you, or you can overcome that hurdle.
Hey guys, it's Hayden, and today we've got a slightly different video because I'm going to be confronting one of my close friends who's also a content creator on YouTube and Instagram. His name's Josh Dowling, also known as the Alpha Athlete, and we were working together at McDonald's for last year, and I really enjoyed listening to his story and what he has to say. Now I'm going to leave his links on the screen right now and in the description below, but don't forget to like and subscribe because this video has been a long time coming, and I hope you enjoy. We'll start by asking who you are, what you do in terms of education, work, and also what the content you make is.
Hi, I'm Josh. I work at McDonald's.
With me.
With him.
Yeah, for the last year it's been going on.
Yeah.
It's good, it's been good. Become close friends, working day shifts,
Exactly.
outside of school now.
In terms of education, I study sport and exercise science because I'm passionate about sports, and basically the content I create is based on that also.
Now, how'd you get into sports and your fascination with health and exercise?
So I got into sports when I was pretty young. Obviously, as a kid, I was a bit overweight compared to the others.
And what age was this?
This is about 12.
12,
Throughout
yeah,
my whole
super
primary school years up till year 7, I was overweight, and that was kind of like a main
Motivation to do something different.
Exactly, and just the main drive. Like that was like my first goal to achieve. And when I lost that weight in year 7, when I stuck to it and I lost the weight, and I realized I can actually achieve things if I put my mind to it.
Now, was that when you started running? Was it that age or just before?
No, so this was before I started running, but
Did you already start doing sports in primary school to an extent or not?
So I played a bit of football, but I was never really serious about it. And I did do athletics back in the day too, but I didn't really.
We have to clear up, football in Australia is completely different to soccer or American. It's a completely different sport. But anyway, continue on.
Yeah, so basically, I played, I wasn't really serious in anything. Played footy, basketball, all that stuff.
Yeah, similar to me.
Because I was overweight.
Yeah.
I wasn't amazing at it.
Yeah.
But what happened was I actually used to be pretty fast, even though I was overweight in primary school. I used to I was beating kids in my primary school.
And it was school events where was it
sprinting?
House carnivals, yeah, with the 2-3 kilometer run type things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sprinting race, sprint races and stuff, and I'd win them, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm alright at this.
Maybe you can do something.
Maths or something. And then a conversation happened with my dad, and I was asking him about it, and he's like, oh, join basketball, you can run a lot in basketball. So years went on.
Running's more specified because it's more constant rather than basketball stop and start. So you obviously lose much for weight if that's the focus.
Exactly.
So was it 12, 13, 14? When did you start athletics and then more focus on sprints?
So I think I started at 15.
Yeah. So
I went to a local running club in my area, but I kind of got, talked into doing cross country, which was a big mistake of mine.
Was that by a friend or?
By a friend, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Obviously I didn't know much about the coaches and stuff, so I just listened to a friend and their mum.
Yeah.
And I joined cross country, and I did a season of that. And then
been doing it ever since?
Stopped that. I did get decent, but it was pretty, I wasn't really built for cross country. And
I know you stopped that part.
Yeah.
And then you moved to sprinting, which was when? What age?
So sprinting was the year after. So I think I was 17.
17, yeah.
16, 17. And
what year was COVID for you?
2020.
What age was it?
I was 18.
You were 18. So did that close that whole year?
It did.
Well, that's a setback, isn't it?
It was a big setback.
Especially when you start getting into it.
So just before COVID hit in 2020, 2019 was probably my best season. And I was smashing PBs, and I was really wanting to make it to nationals. And I was getting very passionate and driven about it. And then 2020 hit, and obviously we were sitting down in online
flip side, upside down. Exactly. All of a sudden, whole world flips upside down.
Exactly. Wasn't training properly, and next thing led to the other, and I moved coaches, and I went from just not doing much running to sprinting full on with a lack of mobility, and did my first hammy. So
And what age was the first hamstring? Was that was post-COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, post-COVID.
And how many weeks/months was that?
So that was about 5 weeks.
5-6 weeks, I assumed.
6
Yeah,
weeks.
5 weeks.
I think I was 17 at the time.
And did you have to spend weeks after that also getting used to it's always starting anew because you have to start training those types of muscles again, especially the hamstring, obviously. But when you don't do anything for 6 weeks, I remember when I went to America, went away for 5-6 weeks, and the last place we stayed at was Los Angeles, and I played basketball all my life, but I hadn't played basketball in like 7-8 weeks, and I could not move. It feels so weird when you don't actually, when you're just lying at home not doing anything, especially after COVID. And I feel the same because I was like, I was a decent runner, decent sport and all that. But after COVID, I think everyone just fell off the pedestal or just went one gear down from there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, to overlap the previous question, not what you're doing right now, what do you want to do in your career? Is it still personal training or what you're focused on after uni? What do you want to do for the rest of your life, basically?
So this is kind of a confusing topic because
I keep
having relapses of wanting to do something, then changing my mind. I was actually talking about it to my mate last night, just trying to decide what I want to do because we're still both so young. I'm 20, you're 19,
and I think it's a common thing when you're just when you're last year of school, just before you hit college, uni, whatever.
Yeah,
I'd say at least 50% don't know what they're doing, and the ones who do, a year later aren't even sure,
Exactly.
Because as soon as you start, you think you're for me, engineering, I'm like, I was good at maths all the time. As soon as I start uni, I'm like, you're sitting there is this always is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is it fun enough? Do I enjoy it enough?
Honestly,
and it's a good question to ask yourself.
Exactly. And I feel like you're kind of just expected to go into uni after high school. There's only of two streams as VCAL, which is more like a trades type of thing. And
it's either you I don't want to say drop out, but when you finish / leave school, whether it's at the last year of school at an earlier age, you normally go to trade or it's uni, at least here in Australia. But other things, not many people start their own businesses, do, content creation. That's what we want to try to do different. Because, as much as it's not the normal thing, it's a bit of fun, if not.
Definitely,
and career is a career, you never know, but it's fun if not.
You only live once, so you might as well just have a shot at everything you can. So have fun with it.
So now I've got to answer the question.
Yeah, answer the question.
What do you want to do?
Okay, so
this might change at the current moment.
But at the current moment, I'm considering personal training still, just because I'm passionate. Thinking about it, my two options are kind of physio and personal training.
Yeah.
Physio, I would have to obviously do a master's after my current course.
And is that just 1 more year?
2 more years.
2 more years.
But it is pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And then otherwise just going straight into the industry with personal training. But when you think about it, they're different. Physio is more about rehabilitation and personal training is more about building an athlete.
Yeah.
Strength and conditioning and everything. So
again, I had told my mate last night, he does osteo.
Yeah.
And he was telling me the difference between relief versus restoration. Is that how you say it? One's relief and one's rebuilding.
Yeah.
And you sit there all these people doing the extra master's degree, and then you ask yourself monetarily, let's say if it's out of the question, if you enjoy them the same, is it worth for not much more money to not go straight into the career you choose? You got to ask yourself, do you want to go straight into the workforce or do you want to spend 2 more years? And it's a hard question.
It's a hard question, but the way I see it, you need to chase what you're interested in. If you're just going to do something for the money, there's no point doing it.
Of course.
Because you're going to be, majority of your life, you're going to be working. And if you're doing a job that you just want to do for the money, but you don't actually enjoy, you're going to go there, you're going to just settle for the bare minimum and you're not going to work your way up there.
And you spend, about 7-8 hours a day on average doing whether it's work or school, whatever it is, throughout your whole life, 30 to 35% of your whole life doing this thing, it's like, what do you want to do it? Do you want to enjoy that 30% of your life, or do you want to just feel like a waste? Because you sleep for 30%.
Yeah.
So you got to ask yourself the question if you want to, enjoy the rest of your life or not, the career you pursue.
Exactly. And back like to the topic, like if you're passionate about something, like say I'm passionate about strength and conditioning and training someone, people are going to see that and they're going to be like, hang on,
gravitate towards
maybe I want to get him to train me because he's passionate, he's going to put in the work. And if you're passionate, you'll get more recognition and you might be able to work your way up and train a professional football club. Or even I was thinking about the other day, like those people that do like movie actors and stuff.
Oh, they do like is in terms of more stunts or just in general where they do health checks?
Like, Superman.
Yeah.
Like him, he had to obviously do a lot of training to get...
Oh, you're saying like as in, like, I know Chris Hemsworth has an insane,
Yeah, it's the same
build,
kind of
like
thing.
bodybuilding or whatever, because they need to change, between acting roles, they need to change their body type.
Exactly,
so, like, whether it's Thor or, I mean, obviously Fat Thor in Endgame and all that,
exactly.
but like, that's obviously wasn't really him, but like, if it was to be that switch, So there's different type of movie roles that need different type of builds,
And they're going to want someone that knows what they're doing.
The right foods, and especially foods, but also training.
And I like just thinking like doing something like that would be just interesting, like transforming some movie character to their desired role. Like,
and you almost see the gratification on screen of like seeing the transformation. That'd be cool. Yeah. Great. Now, how do you integrate your passion for running and fitness into the content that you create?
So basically what I kind of try to do, I haven't, posted a video in a while, which I'm trying to get back into, but I have been focusing on my Instagram, and mainly what I've been doing is I'm trying to document my process. So just documenting each training session, like even though it's not an amazing session, like
at least you got the footage.
Exactly, and I want
to look back on it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like instead of just training, you're doing two things at once by recording and uploading later on.
Yeah.
And you can also teach and help others on similar training styles that you would use.
Exactly.
And it's a good education tool for, people to watch and learn about, professional here. Exactly. Professional runner. Exactly. Come on.
Professional.
Yeah.
A one-day profession.
One day. Oh, come on. Don't be so modest. Don't be so modest.
That's the thing though, like if you document your whole thing and one day you make it up there one day, like
it's a good story.
Imagine having all the years of you training hard just on your Instagram page. People and scroll back, see where you came from, see where you are now.
People don't always look, at the success and instead of looking at the actual story, the setbacks, everything happened, like the hamstring, that's a setback, all these little things throughout your life that, people want to, they push you down, but you always got to get back up.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, we'll get more philosophical, but what is success to you? Is the pursuit of happiness, journey of riches, completing any set out task? What is it to you? What is success?
Success to me is probably having like a certain goal in mind and not giving up and just putting everything you can into it and being able to overcome every challenge that comes in your way. Like if it's running, if it's, anything, you're always going to get challenges and hurdles in your life that are going to come at you. And if you can either just quit and stop because it's too hard for you, or you can overcome that hurdle and go on and
it's the ability to achieve dreams and do what you want to set out, because ultimately we're all trying to do that. Again, like the pursuit of happiness. I literally watched that movie last night. It's like you see all these setbacks again, but that story of being able to go rung by rung up a ladder and get to the top and achieve that dream.
So in terms of answering your question about what is a success, I think it's, just having a goal, achieving it, pushing through all the hurdles that come your way and not having any regret.
So it's like saying, a lot of people don't start doing a goal, they have an idea of career, let's say, or something they want to achieve, but they're like, oh, it's too much effort, I don't even, I think it's impossible, so why try?
Exactly.
And also, a lot of people have a goal and complete it, but you don't stop there, you keep going.
Exactly.
Because there's always another one.
And if you don't make it, like, at least you know that you've put everything you can in. But if you don't make it and you haven't tried at all, then how are you going to know?
What is your goal as a content creator? Is it educating people in a shared interest? Like for me, personal finance, yourself in health and fitness. So yeah, what's your goal as a content creator?
Goal as a content creator is probably to inspire others, to show people that if you put your mind to something, you can achieve it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they have a goal or a dream in mind, but they always just try to avoid it, or they all think it's too hard and they won't even give it an attempt. So inspiring others and showing them that if you put a bit of effort into something and if you stick to something and be patient, you can get results. And
that patience word. Anyway, yeah. Patience is key.
Patience is key. And if you think about it, like there's so many people, like I've had friends come up to me and they're like, oh, because before my passion was my running. Before running was my passion. Before running was my passion, I was actually into bodybuilding. So I got pretty big when I was, 16, 17. I was actually, I saw a personal trainer and, I was doing my best to just get as big as possible. And that actually started when I was in year 9, where I was with a mate and we used to watch a guy called Ziz. I don't know if anyone knows Ziz, but yeah, anyways, basically, when I started bodybuilding when I was younger, like kids, they'd be like, oh, what are you doing? Like they'd kind of like make fun of you because like when you first start, it's almost like you're just like some skinny tweed dude in the gym and
people are like, oh, it's not working and stuff like that.
Exactly. And people would kind of like take the piss out of it. And then when I started getting results from year 9 up to like year 11, people actually went from making fun to
envying you almost.
Envying basically, and asking me for advice. And basically, to answer your question, just showing people, so many people want something to happen, but they think it can happen instantly. And they need to learn it. It can't. And people will normally start a gym program and they'll do it for a month and they'll quit. But what I like to tell people is it's like watching grass grow. If you try to grow grass, you watch it every day, you're not going to see any difference. But if you plant some seeds and come back 6 months later, you're going to notice a massive difference.
Stuff's not built in days, but decades.
Exactly.
Because I feel like, especially with the making fun of part, it's a maturity thing. And people don't really realise, people don't really understand their passion when they're at that age, that age bracket. They're kind of just in school, I was playing Fortnite when I was 14, 15. But seriously, like when you mature and become an adult at 18, then that's when you especially start to want, more things in life.
Exactly. You realise like other people's opinions don't matter, because what are they doing right now? Like they're probably, just sitting down doing nothing, and
you may as well do something.
You might as well do something, because what's the worst that can happen? Some random kid's gonna be like, oh, like your videos are shit. This is shit. Like it doesn't matter. Like how's that gonna matter to you in 40, 50 years time when you look back on your life? You're not gonna care what people have thought.
And
what you've done, what you've achieved.
A lot of people worry, like in the moment. I feel like people, when they're younger ages, they're like, oh, some kid's picking me at school. Didn't happen to me as much, but a lot. You see it, and when especially in primary school, now that you look back, if you were picked on, you're like, well, looking back on it, what did it matter to me? It doesn't really make a difference. I got it. But it doesn't really make a difference, and you need to have a long-term mindset, a growth mindset, and think for the better, because these people who are doing this stuff don't really matter usually. I have a even deeper question now. Who or what's your inspiration? Because I know you have a video on your YouTube channel about Usain Bolt. So is it him? Is it someone else? Who is it?
Good question. Probably, definitely like Usain Bolt, Safa Power, all those types of sprinters. But there's definitely like some, inspiration, people that inspire me that aren't actually, all the way up there either.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, Usain Bolt, even like Johan Blake, like you can just see that they've obviously put a lot of hard work into their sprinting careers.
I've seen a quote before. I think everyone knows it, but Usain Bolt once said, I've trained 4 years between Olympics to run for 9 seconds.
Yeah.
And people always think about, they'd give up hypothetically after weeks,
Exactly.
not maybe months at most, but like that dedication at that, for that long of a time span really pays off a lot.
It's a lot of work, and it just shows how much, commitment and determination he has, because sprinting, it's hard. Like you have one race to prove yourself. You don't have a whole football game.
Yeah, you don't have, it's a moment rather than moments.
Exactly.
Because in, basketball, for instance, there's the big shots you always remember, but there's a lot of little moments during the game. But the one that stands out the most is that big moment.
Exactly.
But you don't get as many chances in sprinting.
No.
It's one.
And it's more on you opposed to just a team.
Yeah.
So you
That
just
too, yeah.
Exactly. And like sprinting, it's almost like, I don't know, it's always inspired me just looking at like Usain Bolt and stuff, just because how fine-tuned they were. Like they just executed everything so perfectly.
And they're the ones who succeed in the end.
They succeeded in the end. And obviously there's a lot of natural talent from those guys, but they did put a lot of work in, and they wouldn't have gone there without putting in the hard work.
Yeah. So my inspiration was always Derrick Rose, and if you don't know, he's a famous basketball player for my team. That's why I fell in love with basketball for the Chicago Bulls. And he was the youngest MVP ever at 23 years old. But it's actually more famously was the year before, at the end of the season, he had a press conference and he said, why can't I be the MVP of the league? Why can't I be the best player in the league? When he, was kicked out of the finals. And it's a good question to ask yourself, what stops me from doing something I want to do? Like what roadblock is in the way? And I think it's important to back yourself sometimes. And like he did, he proved himself, next year won MVP. Last question. If you had to tell your younger self, maybe let's say 12 years old, anything, what piece of advice would you give them?
I'd probably tell myself, or, anyone that's, younger, actually start that again. I'd probably tell myself to not worry about what others think. I think you should just, it's hard when you're younger because, obviously you're always gonna worry. Like you don't really have that type of mindset until you're about this age. But probably just giving everything a go, not worrying what others think, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. People actually, get motivated when they see someone that just
wants something
and pushes and doesn't care what other people think. And you don't want to be like everyone else all the time, and
you don't want to be the average, the
exactly,
median.
like
it's good to stand out.
Exactly, and just doing something you enjoy opposed to just doing something others
What's society? Yeah, exactly. You want to. A common one is like, for me, I hate going out.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't feel pressured, because sometimes I just say no. But I feel like, if a group of mates who I'm really close with, they want to go out, I'm like, well, I'll have to go because I'm a group of mates.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to step back and be like, do I want to do this? What's something better I can do that I actually enjoy? Is it just staying at home and, chatting with them? It's a bit of fun. And personally, I'd like to say you shouldn't worry so much. Like me, as in my younger self, I focus on school so much, and although I was like reasonably high achieving in terms of grades and all that when I was younger, I wish I did something outside of school that I was more passionate with, and I didn't find that thing until maybe now. But I think you got to take a leap of faith, and that's what this channel is. And although it's not normal, I think it's important to do something you love, and that's okay because you should integrate your work with anything that you love.
Exactly. And when you're young, it's actually the perfect time to take risks because most of us are living, with your parents and everything. So even if you do stuff up, you're still young.
Yeah.
If you stuff up, you stuff up your schooling, it doesn't matter. You can always
your collateral to fall on.
Student.
Yeah, exactly.
You might realise you don't even want to go to uni. People that do go to uni and get high ATARs and sometimes end up even dropping out in their first year and realise it's not for them. So
yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
I feel like school, you do maths, English, science, and then you kind of get more specified. When you end school, you pick your VCE subjects, we call it here, but like your key set of subjects, which were like maths, English, business, and physics. But it's when you actually have to apply them in uni, you're like, well, it's not what I thought it was.
Definitely, yeah.
When
it gets more in depth, you're just like, hang on, like,
I need to take a step back. I'm not as interested as I thought I would be. But the thing is, that's okay because it's a very, very common thing that happens.
Exactly.
Like, I wouldn't know the statistic, but I could imagine, at least, I'm pretty sure it was like 80% of people or something ridiculous. I don't remember the number, but it was something ridiculous. End up switching courses or dropping out. And you don't have to, life isn't a one-way path. It's not tunnel vision.
You don't have to do everything straight away. If you decide you don't want to do it, just don't. Like, I feel like what I think is everything happens for a reason. So, if for some reason you end up, not passing your course or something, and like you realize, and if you're like all hard on yourself because of that, well, everything happens for a reason. Like maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe you're better off doing something else. So.
And maybe that not passing course thing was almost like a direction God gave you, whatever.
Exactly.
To say like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You don't want to do this. Why are you doing it?
If you're not enjoying one semester of uni, do you really reckon you're going to work your whole life?
Yeah, enjoy your next 4 years.
Exactly.
3-4 years on average, which is ridiculous, but yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming, bro. It was so fun to like actually have a proper in-depth conversation about your passions, stop worrying so much, what success is, all these questions that we maybe think about in our heads, but talking with a mate is good to really, think about. It's good to share your thoughts, and
it shows you're all on the same page.
Yeah, because
you're not alone.
You're not alone. Most people are in the same boat, and they don't even realize it.
Just don't voice it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't voice it. It ain't weak to speak. You gotta talk about stuff.
Exactly.
But no, this is cool, bro. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm gonna stop swinging my chair. Like the things I'm like noticing, I'm like.
No, I know, because I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, do I have to look at the camera?
Yeah.
What does it look like after?
That's what I'm doing. I'm just like.
I'm like trying to have a peek.
For a second, and I look back.
And I'm like looking there, like, oh wait, and then one of us would look at the camera, and the other one would follow, and then I'd switch back, and I'm just looking at you, looking at the camera, and I'm like, what's going on right now?
Oh, well.
I'm trying to give cues, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.